Dead by Daylight is the godfather when it comes to co-op horror gaming. Well, it received its godfather status since all the other competitors are pretty much all dead, but nevertheless, Dead by Daylight is in a league of its own, watching over all the other peasants that have come challenged for the throne but miraculously failed. It's incredible how this game has not only stood the test of time, but the data shown on Twitch trackers clearly suggests the game's popularity has only grown throughout the years. There's not many AAA games that can consistently keep players entertained for at least a year in this day and age. Call of Duty.
I am here to talk about how Cold War has reached the apex level of boring!
Behaviour, which started off as an indie studio, has propelled itself forward and continued to grow regardless of the state in which the gaming industry is in. But what made DBD stand out from the rest? What allowed them to be that one shiny diamond amongst a massive pile of shit? It's simple really. They saw a gap in the market and capitalized. I know you were expecting a mind-blowing answer, but when it comes down to it, Behaviour came up with a formula for success and brought it to life. It's almost like how Mr. Krabs and Plankton came up with a formula, but since they split up and split the formula in half, one got the ultimate, tastiest formula, being the Krabby Patty, and the other, well,
Go on, sir. Tell your buddies what you think.
The horror genre is a pretty oversaturated dumbfest if we're being honest. Not all of them, but a good chunk is just regurgitated crap being fed to us again and again. Kinda like the grub Plankton serves up. Sure, the gameplay is addicting and that's what gets you hooked. Who doesn't love running around using characters like Quentin and the ultimate bushwookie Blundette? Or if you're feeling a little brave, why not switch it up and hunt down survivors? When you first start DBD, there's endless possibilities to suit your playstyle. You want to hunt down survivors with pure stealth? No problem. That boy Mikey got you covered. You want to traverse the map at the speed of light? Well, guess what? Demogorgon's buttholes have got you covered. Maybe you want to be an absolute Chad and use one of the worst killers in the game. That boy Trapper will bring you nothing but pain, but hey, Trapper's basement may brighten up your day. The point is, there's so much to do that it'll make your head explode, and this is a good thing. We like this, right? Well, yeah, but what happens after you've gotten over the honeymoon period? The grueling reality settles in, and all you're left with is the monotone grinding of earning blood points till your eyes roll back through your skull in boredom. In short, there's really nothing else to do once you've gotten all those perks unlocked. But wait, what about killer? Surely you want to unlock all those perks across all your killers? Well, yes, most people would want that, like a year ago. You see, there's just one teensy weensy issue though. No one wants to play killer. I mean seriously, playing killer these days is like self-diagnosing yourself with depression. For example, girl A, she's new and watches a lot of videos to get better at killer. And then you got girl B, she's played killer since the game started and has just given up and plays survivor now. Girl A continues to play killer, she gets better and better until she hits her limit. Oh, this is where she meets her little friend known as MMR. And if you do not know what MMR is, it's basically the same as SBMM, skill-based matchmaking. You come up against players of the same skill caliber. It's a very flawed system. It doesn't work well in Dead by Daylight. Girl A, after getting multiple 4-hooks and dominating lobbies, comes to a realization that she can no longer dominate those lobbies because she was too good. You see, there's 5 stages to grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and finally, acceptance. After being put through all these stages, she finally accepts it is what it is and thus joins Girl B. I remember when DBD used to be that game you'd pick up after a long day of school or work. It was that one game which refused to fall into the modern day trap of adding MMR/SBMM. Heck, I remember the days when the only major matchmaking complaint was survive with friends. That shit is still busted, by the way. But I'd still take those days back in a heartbeat. There's no denying gaming has evolved into churning out useless, overpriced cosmetics and half-finished dumpster fire so-called AAA games. I mean, seriously, the devs would rather focus on releasing their weekly batch of skins rather than fix their bugs and glitches.
I think we did a pretty good job so far.
If I was in a coma for 10 years and woke up and then saw adverts for the latest McDonald's burger and a brand new AAA game releasing, I'd think, holy shit, these actually look pretty good. Then you go buy it IRL and you're presented with some random ball of slop that looks nothing like the advert and the most soulless, lifeless game you've ever played. What sets it apart from its competitors? The point is, nothing. They've not evolved their game since it's released. Sure, a cool graphic update and some new chapters to spice things up. How about adding, you know, maybe a new game mode instead? Or even better, allow users to create their own game modes, as we've seen the likes of Fortnite and Overwatch replicate. There's been a continuous cycle for as long as I can remember now. Devs hype up new chapter with teaser. Fans get excited and start theorizing. The PTB begins, and this is pretty much the peak because everyone's finally seen the chapter. Once it releases on live, people who love the chapter will cop it instantly. You'll play for a few days, learn to play the character, but eventually it just starts to die down for another 2 to 3 months until, hey, guess what? But wait, what about the battle pass? Sorry, I meant Rift. Again, just more cosmetics, but honestly, the Rift system is a pretty solid model which a lot of other studios have adapted after seeing the success of Fortnite. You get a pretty good bang for your buck, especially if you grind the game, so I have no problem with this addition, but still, I just couldn't bring myself to buy it since you actually have to grind the game, and for what exactly? To get like 25k blood points and unlock 4 bubbles in the blood web? Boring! On the other hand, surely player retention is at its highest it's ever been. Well, yes, I'd say you're right. Since June 21 to December 2021, it's averaged around 75k to 100k players a day on Steam, which is incredible, so hats off to Behaviour. It makes sense though, June is summer, everyone's off from school, chilling, playing video games, eating ice cream, all the way through to winter where it's cold, so most of us are penned up inside nice and warm. But if we just zoom in right there, you can begin to see a downside trend formulating. This isn't random. No, it's because of one glaringly major issue that I've mentioned before.
Drumroll, please.
SBMM. September 8th, the beginning of the downfall. September and October retained a high player count daily, which makes sense since majority of us were testing out the new MMR system, but it wasn't long till people began to realize it wasn't any good. From Reddit to content creators, most of us can agree that DBD is not meant to be played competitively. The feedback, to say the least, was glaringly obvious that a major portion of players didn't like the implementation of MMR. So what now? Surely they've got to revert it back to normal, right? Well, no. In fact, they've been more or less radio silent about it. But hey, at least they're adding more cosmetics. Dead by Daylight is slowly starting to follow in the same footsteps of another game series I hold dear in my heart, and that's Call of Duty. Both have implemented SBMM, and despite the major backlash, they both remain radio silent, and I can only think of one reason why. Me and you, longtime players, aren't really their primary focus, because me and you aren't dumb enough to spend money continuously on a game that's broken, buggy, glitchy, and devs that refuse to listen to their core player base. Instead, they'll cater to newer players, and I'll tell you why. Money. That's it. A newer player is likely to be bad, thus getting easier lobbies.
If this MMR is only benefiting new players for a little bit, and then they all jump on the train of being absolutely miserable, maybe the MMR is not so good anymore.
Once they're hooked, it works out better for the devs if a new player purchases multiple DLCs at once, rather than the core player base buying the latest DLC every 2 to 3 months. Think about it. They've released a ton of DLCs since the beginning. Those of us who've at least played for over a year, more time has a good chunk of them already, right? Well, now we're just playing the game normally, so we're not actively buying from the store. This doesn't benefit them, so what's the point in catering towards us? There is none. COD follows this same model, and I have to admit, as much as it sucks, it does make sense. I do hope one day things will start to look up for DBD, but in the short term, things look pretty bleak with more and more players quitting each day. So now it comes down to the final question. Is Dead by Daylight really dying? Yes.
I got the baddest bitch out of the city. She got my name on top of her titty. I do my dance, feel like a jiggy. I do my dance, I feel like I'm shaking.